A black man with $10 million. You'd think that would be enough. Midtown Chicago. 11:47 a.m. Glass doors. Marble floors. The kind of bank that polishes its counters twice a day because the counters are part of the promise. Marcus Webb walks in carrying a worn leather briefcase and a check that could buy the building. The woman behind counter 2 looks up. She sees the briefcase. The discount jacket. The calm in his posture that some people mistake for submission. She sees everything except what the check says. Her name badge reads, Diane Holloway. Branch manager. 14 years. She picks up the check. Reads the number. Looks at Marcus. Reads the number again. And then, slowly, deliberately, making sure he watches every second of it, she tears it in half. Then quarters. Then she steps around the counter and drops the pieces at his feet. I don't know where you got this, she says. But this bank doesn't process stolen property. 11 customers stand in line behind Marcus Webb. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. And then the door opens. A man in a charcoal suit walks in. Regional director. 15 seconds inside the lobby. He sees the paper on the floor. He sees Marcus. And something drains out of his face like color leaving a photograph. Mr. Webb. Not, sir, as dismissal. Not, sir, as policy. Sir, as recognition. As weight. As the kind of respect that arrives in a room before the person does. Diane Holloway's hand drops. Stay. Because in 47 minutes, 11 witnesses are going to watch her understand exactly who she just threw paper at, and why that word came 46 minutes too late. This is real. This starts now. 6:04 a.m. Marcus Webb's alarm goes off. He doesn't reach for it immediately. He lies still for 3 seconds, the same 3 seconds every morning, and runs through the list. What needs doing? What can't wait? What he built and what it cost him. His daughter Imani is already in the kitchen. 11 years old. Ponytail slightly crooked. She's making eggs and listening to something through one earbud, moving her mouth to words Marcus can't hear. You're up early, he says. You said big day. I said that last night. I remember things. She slides a plate toward him without looking up. Eggs slightly overdone. Perfect, anyway. Marcus pours coffee. Dark roast. The kind that tastes like the years he doesn't talk about, the years of pitches that went nowhere, the clients who saw him walk in and decided before he opened his mouth, the investors who told him his projections were optimistic in a tone that meant something else entirely. He built Meridian Logistics Solutions from a spare bedroom and a laptop that overheated if you ran 2 programs at once. 5 years. 41 employees. A proprietary routing algorithm that 3 Fortune 500 companies now consider essential infrastructure. Premier Capital Group closed the acquisition 11 days ago. The check arrived by courier 4 days after that. $12,400,000. Made out to Marcus Darnell Webb. He could have wired it. Could have done mobile deposit from his couch while Imani watched television. Could have watched the number appear in his account the way numbers appear, quietly, without ceremony, without anyone having to acknowledge what it meant. But Marcus Webb's father, Gerald, worked 31 years as a foreman at a packaging plant on the south side of Chicago. Got up at 5 every morning. Never missed a shift. When he retired, they gave him a plaque and a handshake, and Gerald Webb drove home and hung the plaque in the garage where it wouldn't bother anyone. 6 months before he died, Gerald pressed a piece of advice into his son's palm along with the worn leather briefcase he'd carried since 1987. Don't let anyone make you invisible. Go where you belong and stand there until they see you. Marcus carries the briefcase. Inside it, today, the check. His company's incorporation papers. The acquisition announcement from Premier Capital. Tax returns for the past 4 years. 2 forms of government-issued ID. Bank statements going back to the first month Meridian turned a profit. He shouldn't need any of it except the check. He brings all of it anyway. Because Marcus Webb has heard the stories. He's lived a version of them. And he understands that sometimes the most important thing isn't being right, it's being prepared to prove it. He kisses Imani on top of her slightly crooked ponytail. Don't burn the kitchen down. The eggs were fine. They were well done. You ate them. He did. He smiles all the way to the car. The drive takes 22 minutes. Heritage First Bank, Wacker Drive branch. 6 months old. Glass and steel, the way new downtown branches look when a bank is trying to say something about itself. The lobby is designed to feel like a rival, vaulted ceilings, natural light, counters spaced generously apart. The kind of place that tells you money is safe here. That people like you are welcome here. Marcus checks his watch. 11:43 a.m. Lunch rush. The lobby is busy, not crowded, but occupied. 11 customers in 2 lines. 2 tellers working. A service desk on the far left, empty. And counter 2, where a woman sits with her hands folded, watching the line advance with the practiced patience of someone who has decided she's already seen everything worth seeing. Her name is Diane Holloway. 14 years with Heritage First Bank. Branch manager for 6. She knows policy the way some people know scripture, fluently, selectively, and with absolute certainty that she is its most faithful interpreter. Marcus approaches. Good afternoon. I'd like to make a deposit. He places the check on the counter. Diane Holloway looks at it. Then she looks at Marcus. And Marcus Webb has spent his entire adult life learning to read that look. It isn't hostility, exactly. It isn't anger. It is something quieter and more efficient than either, the look of a calculation already completed. The look that says the answer was decided before the question was asked. Do you have identification? Of course. He provides his Illinois driver's license. Current. Valid. Photo matches. She types something. Pauses. Types again. Do you have a secondary form of ID? Marcus places his passport on the counter. She holds it up next to his face, an action so deliberate, so public, so designed to be seen by the 11 people watching, that one woman near the back of the line shifts her weight and looks at the floor. And do you have documentation for the source of these funds? For a deposit. It's a large amount. Verification is standard. Marcus opens the briefcase. Business registration. Acquisition announcement. 4 years of tax returns. 4 years of bank statements. A press release from Premier Capital Group naming him as the founder and primary beneficiary of the acquisition. Diane Holloway barely glances at them. I'll need to contact our fraud division. Then contact them. I'll wait. She picks up the phone. Turns her back, not all the way, just enough. Her voice is designed to carry. Yes. Hi. I have a customer presenting a check for just over $12 million. It seems inconsistent. Can you run a flag? Inconsistent. With what? With the documentation on the counter. With the incorporated business and the press release and the tax returns going back 4 years. With his face. Marcus says nothing. His jaw tightens once, barely visible. He breathes. He has been here before, not this room, but this moment. The moment where the only thing more dangerous than losing your composure is showing that you ever had it. She hangs up. Turns back. We'll need to hold the check for further review. I'm going to ask you to step aside. No. The word lands clean and flat. Excuse me. I said no. I'm not stepping aside. I'm not leaving this counter. You will process this deposit or you will provide me with a written explanation for the refusal. Those are the options. Diane Holloway stands. The lobby has gone quiet in the way spaces go quiet when everyone has stopped pretending they're not watching. She picks up the check. Holds it at arm's length, between 2 fingers, the way you hold something suspect. Where did you get this? Not earn. Not receive. Get. I earned it, Marcus says. From the sale of my company. Meridian Logistics Solutions. Which I built. And which you have documentation for. On the counter. In front of you. Right now. She tears it. Not quickly. Not in frustration. Not in a moment of overwhelm or poor judgment. deliberately. One long, clean tear down the center. Then she folds what remains and tears again. Quarters. She holds them for a moment, making sure he understands that she knows exactly what she's doing, and then she drops them at his feet. The sound of paper hitting marble is very small. The silence around it is not. This check is fraudulent. You are attempting to commit fraud. Security, please escort this individual from the premises, and I'm calling the police. Marcus Webb does not look at the paper on the floor. He does not bend to pick it up. He looks at Diane Holloway with the expression of a man who has already decided what comes next, who made that decision before he walked in, who has been preparing for this specific moment for longer than she will ever understand. He reaches into his jacket pocket, slowly, both hands visible. He places his phone on the counter. Screen up. Recording. Your full name, he says quietly. For the record. She is mid-breath to answer when the door opens. His name is Robert Calloway. Regional Director, Heritage First Bank. 18 years with the company. Tailored suit. The kind of presence that comes from 2 decades of rooms that stood up when he walked in. He's not supposed to be here. He had a lunch 3 blocks south. A meeting that ran 15 minutes short. He decided to stop by the new branch, see how the lunch rush was running, check in with Holloway about Q3 projections. He walks into silence. 11 customers frozen in 2 lines. A security officer standing beside counter 2 with the careful blankness of a man who knows he made the wrong call and hasn't figured out yet how to correct it. Paper on the marble floor. A woman behind the counter, one hand raised toward a phone, the other pointing at the men standing at the far edge of the counter. Robert Calloway's eyes move to the men. Something stops. Not his feet, he's still walking. But something behind his eyes stops, recalibrates, runs a calculation that takes less than 2 seconds and produces a result that empties the color from his face. He knows this man. Not of him. Knows him. They met 14 months ago at a financial technology conference in Detroit. Marcus Webb gave a presentation on logistics AI that Calloway thought was the most coherent 45 minutes he'd spent at a conference in years. They had coffee afterward. Calloway gave him a pitch: Heritage First Services for growing tech companies, personalized banking, relationship-first approach. Marcus Webb listened to the entire pitch, shook his hand, and said he'd consider it. He considered it. He walked in today. Mr. Webb. The lobby doesn't breathe. Diane Holloway's hand drops. Sir. Not as courtesy. Not as script. As recognition. As the specific, particular weight of a man understanding that the person on the other side of the counter is not who he was treated as. Marcus turns. His expression does not change. There is no triumph in it, no satisfaction, nothing that could be read as surprise. There is only the quiet, complete attention of a man who has been waiting. Mr. Calloway. They know each other. The silence that follows is the sound of 11 people recalculating everything they just watched. Calloway's eyes drop to the floor. The paper. He bends, instinct, and picks up a quarter of the check. He can read enough. $1 million. Arcus we. Premier Cap. His blood goes cold. What happened here? Diane Holloway moves to explain. Calloway raises one hand and she stops. He looks at Marcus. At the phone on the counter. At the briefcase. At the way Marcus is standing, not aggressive, not relieved, not performing anything at all. Simply present. Simply there. Mr. Webb. Sir. I would like, if you're willing, to speak privately. I will personally. Your branch manager just destroyed my property, Marcus says. The lobby hears every word. She accused me of fraud. She called security. She threatened to have me arrested. She did all of this without making a single phone call to Premier Capital Group, whose name and CFO's direct line I placed on this counter 20 minutes ago. And now you want to speak privately. Calloway closes his eyes briefly. I understand. I don't think you do. Not yet. Marcus picks up the envelope he's already prepared. He brought it, of course he brought it, because he knew, he has always known, that preparation is the only leverage available to people who aren't given the benefit of the doubt, and places the 4 torn quarters inside. He picks up his phone. He takes a photograph of Diane Holloway's name badge. Of the security camera timestamp in the corner. Of Calloway's face, which has the particular expression of a man watching something he can't stop. I'm leaving. I'll deposit this check at a bank that treats me like a customer. And then I'm going to decide what to do about what happened here today. Calloway steps forward. Mr. Webb, please. Give me a chance to make this right. Marcus looks at him, really looks at him, and when he speaks, his voice is very quiet. Mr. Calloway. Do you think this is the first time your branch manager has done this? Calloway says nothing. That's what I thought. One more pause. One more look at the 11 people still standing in their lines, watching. The woman at the back of line 2. She saw everything. Get her statement. Because if anyone tries to reframe what happened in this lobby today, I have 11 witnesses and 47 minutes of audio. He picks up his briefcase. He walks out. He sits in his car for 12 minutes. Hands on the wheel. Engine off. The parking garage is quiet except for the ventilation, a low hum that has no interest in what just happened. He is not shaking from fear. He is shaking from the specific, exhausting fury of a man who was completely right and it made no difference, who was prepared and documented and calm and professional and it made no difference, who knew exactly what was happening from the moment he saw her face and it made no difference, because none of that was ever what it was about. He picks up his phone. He dials Nadia Osei. She answers on the second ring. Civil rights attorney. 13 years practicing in Illinois. They met at a conference 4 years ago and have stayed in professional contact ever since, the kind of relationship built on mutual respect and the mutual understanding that in this country, certain collisions are not a matter of if. Nadia. I need an attorney. A beat. What happened? He tells her. Every detail. The documentation he brought. The 3 forms of ID. The security officer. The torn check. The 47 minutes of audio. The moment Robert Calloway walked in and the word that followed. Silence on the line. Then, you have the recording. Every second. Witnesses. 11. One gave me her contact information voluntarily. Another silence. Shorter. Marcus. I'm taking this case. No fee until we prevail. But I need you to hear me clearly. If we do this, we do it fully. We file with the State Banking Commission. We demand an institutional investigation, not just individual discipline. We make this public record. I know. Your name will be attached to this. Your company, your acquisition, all of it, it becomes part of a legal complaint against a major financial institution. They will hire people whose entire job is to make you look like something other than what you are. I know. Are you sure? Marcus looks at the parking garage wall. He thinks about Imani making eggs at 6 a.m. because he said big day. He thinks about his father's briefcase on the passenger seat. He thinks about the woman at the back of the line who shifted her weight and looked at the floor. He thinks about whoever walks into that branch tomorrow. I'm sure. Then send me everything tonight. He sends everything. Then he does something he hadn't planned. He opens LinkedIn. Types for 6 minutes. Reads it back once. Posts it. Today, I walked into a bank with a check representing 5 years of work and 41 people's livelihoods. I walked out with torn paper and a lesson I already knew by heart, that in certain rooms, success is only visible when someone decides to look for it. I am sharing this not for sympathy but because silence has a cost, and I am no longer willing to pay it. He doesn't name the bank. He doesn't post the audio. He doesn't need to. Within 90 minutes, 300 comments. Over 600 shares. Messages from people he hasn't spoken to in years, colleagues, former clients, strangers. This happened to me too. Thank you for saying it. Let me know what you need. 2 journalists reach out. He responds to one. Her name is Claire Morrow. She covers financial accountability for the Chicago Tribune. Her last investigation led to a federal review of discriminatory mortgage practices at a regional lender. She replies in 20 minutes. Off the record first, if you prefer. I'm interested in the full picture, not the headline. They meet the next morning. Coffee shop in Wicker Park, neutral ground. Claire Morrow brings credentials and a recorder and the particular attentiveness of a reporter who has learned that the most important thing is not to need the story to be more than it is. Marcus plays her 47 minutes of audio. She listens without expression. When it ends, she asks 3 questions. Takes notes. Sits back. There are going to be other people. If this is what I think it is institutionally, there are others who had the same experience and stayed quiet. Some of them will come forward when this publishes. You should be ready for that. I'm ready. It will get larger than you. Good. She studies him the way reporters study sources they want to trust. I'll need 2 weeks to verify and get the bank's response. I'll give them the chance to comment. Take what you need. Meanwhile, Robert Calloway calls. Marcus answers. Says nothing. Mr. Webb. Thank you for, please don't hang up. I owe you an explanation. You owe me accountability. Those aren't the same thing. Calloway's voice is carefully controlled. Sarah, Miss Holloway has been placed on administrative leave pending review. I want you to know we are taking this with complete. What are you reviewing? I have 47 minutes of audio and 11 witnesses. What exactly is under review? A pause. What led to her decision? What led to her decision was my skin color. Mr. Webb. Mr. Calloway. I want Miss Holloway's complete complaint history. Every incident report, every customer grievance, every performance review mentioning fraud prevention. I want to know if I'm the first or just the first one who didn't leave quietly. That's confidential personnel information. Then I'll get it through discovery. Silence. We would like to make this right. Privately. Quickly. Whatever figure you. I'm not interested in a figure. I'm interested in what changes. He hangs up. He calls Nadia. They're already moving toward settlement. Of course they are. They know what the audio sounds like. What do? We file. Tomorrow. Illinois State Banking Commission. Case number IBC 2024-1847. Complainant, Marcus Darnell Webb. Nature of complaint, racial discrimination in provision of banking services. Destruction of financial instrument. Violation of consumer rights under state and federal statute. The Commission opens a formal investigation within 6 days. Heritage First Bank issues a statement. We take these allegations extremely seriously. The employee in question has been placed on administrative leave. We are committed to equitable service for all customers. The statement does not apologize to Marcus Webb. The comment section says everything the statement doesn't. Within 48 hours of the Commission's public announcement, 9 people contact Nadia Osei directly. Different years. Different branches. Different employees. Same pattern. A woman who brought 3 years of pay stubs to deposit an inheritance check. A contractor denied a business loan despite documented assets because his client list was described as high risk. A physician flagged for fraud when depositing a malpractice settlement. Same bank. Same architecture. Same weight assigned to the same kind of face. But it is 6 weeks later, in a plain email to Claire Morrow, that everything changes. Subject line, you need to see this. Attachment, a PDF. 61 pages. Internal heading, Heritage First Bank, Enhanced Due Diligence Protocols, version 4.1. Revised March 2021. Confidential. Claire calls Marcus before she finishes reading. Get to Nadia. Now. They meet that afternoon. Claire slides her laptop across the table. Section 2. Transaction Risk Assessment. A list of triggers for enhanced scrutiny. Deposits exceeding $25,000 from non-established account holders. Transactions originating from, and here, in Appendix D, a list of zip codes. 17 of them. On the south and west sides of Chicago. Marcus Webb recognizes every neighborhood. Not because they are dangerous. Because they are his. Not explicitly racial. Structurally racial. Coded in geography so the policy could call itself neutral. Section 4. Branch Manager Performance Metrics. Fraud Prevention Efficacy, weighted at 22% of quarterly evaluation. Bonus structure tied directly to identified high-risk interventions. Nadia pulls up the complaint dates. Matches them against Diane Holloway's quarterly reviews. 11 flagged interventions in the past 22 months. 9 corresponding customer complaints. 8 complaints from customers of color. Diane Holloway's most recent review exceeds expectations in proactive risk management. Demonstrates strong institutional judgment. Her last bonus tied to that evaluation, $9,000. Marcus stares at the documents for a long moment. They trained her, he says. Very quiet. They trained her, Nadia confirms. And they paid her to do it well. This is no longer a story about a branch manager who made an assumption. This is a story about a bank that built an assumption into policy, wrapped it in the language of fraud prevention, and rewarded the employees who enforced it most efficiently. Claire publishes 14 days later. Banking While Black, inside Heritage First's discrimination playbook. The article contains excerpts from the internal protocol. Analysis of the zip code lists. Diane Holloway's performance reviews. The correlation between her bonuses and complaint dates. An analysis of 11 other customers' experiences across 4 branches. By noon, 380,000 views. By evening, 1.4 million. By the following morning, the Illinois governor's office calls the commission. Federal banking regulators announce a supplemental inquiry. Heritage First stock falls 11% before trading is halted. And the phones don't stop. 23 people. Then 31. Then 44. Every one of them with a version of the same story, the same bank, the same architecture of assumption. 44 people who stayed quiet, until someone didn't. Illinois State Banking Commission, Room 6. Live streamed. 62,000 viewers at the opening gavel. Commissioner Yvette Marshall presiding. 23 years on the commission. The kind of fair that doesn't require performance because it has nothing to prove. Diane Holloway testifies first. She is composed. Her attorney is expensive. Her answers are careful. Nadia Osei takes 22 minutes to dismantle both. Miss Holloway. You requested 3 forms of identification from Mr. Webb before the verification call. Is that standard? For large deposits, yes. I'm showing you security footage from this branch, dated the same afternoon. Customer at counter 1. Depositing $93,000. How many forms of ID did you request? Silence. 1. She provided 1. She is white. Each situation. Miss Holloway. Yes or no? Did you make a single phone call to Premier Capital Group before destroying Mr. Webb's check? Longer silence. No. Their number was on the counter. In front of you. Placed there by Mr. Webb himself. I was following protocol. I'm showing you Appendix D of Heritage First's Enhanced Due Diligence Protocol. The zip code list. Mr. Webb's registered business address falls within zip code 60624. That zip code appears on this list. Did this factor into your assessment? Diane Holloway looks at her attorney. Her attorney says nothing. Miss Holloway. The answer never comes. The silence is its own verdict. Robert Calloway testifies next. He is genuine in his regret. Nadia gives him that, he is not performing it. But genuine regret and accountability are not the same thing. Mr. Calloway. When you entered the branch and recognized Mr. Webb, you called him, sir. With respect. With weight. Yes. Did Miss Holloway use sir during her interaction with him? I believe she may have. Nadia plays the audio. Diane Holloway's voice fills the room. Sir, this check is fraudulent. Sir, you need to step back. She used sir as dismissal, Nadia says. You used it as recognition. My question is direct, Mr. Calloway, if you had not recognized Mr. Webb as someone you knew personally, would you have used sir the same way? Robert Calloway is quiet for a long time. I don't know. That's the problem, isn't it? He has no answer. Marcus Webb testifies last. He asked to go last. He sits straight. His voice is level. He has been asked to describe the interaction 3 times in 3 different forums, and his account has not changed by a single word, because it doesn't need to, because he was there, and he was sober, and he was paying attention. Nadia asks the basic questions. Timeline. Documentation. The audio, played in full. Then, Commissioner Marshall leans forward. Mr. Webb. When Mr. Calloway entered the branch and addressed you as, "Sir," what did you feel? The room is very still. Marcus looks at the commissioner. Then at the camera. Then at the 62,000 people watching from wherever they are, who stopped what they were doing to witness this. I felt like he was giving respect to the version of me he recognized. The CEO. The acquisition. The number on the check. And I understood, because I have understood this my entire life, that the version of me that walked in 46 minutes earlier didn't deserve that word. Didn't earn it. Because nobody had recognized him yet. He pauses. That's the thing I want this room to understand. It's not that the word came too late, though it did. It's that, "Sir," should not be a reward for being recognized. It should be the default. Dignity shouldn't need proof. Respect shouldn't require recognition. The word should be there at minute 1, not minute 47. No one in room 6 speaks. On the live stream, the chat stops scrolling. Commissioner Marshall closes her notebook. Preliminary findings issued the same afternoon. Heritage First Bank engaged in systematic discriminatory practice. The enhanced due diligence protocol contains racially coded criteria that disproportionately target customers of color. Performance incentives created structural reward for discriminatory behavior. Management oversight was insufficient at every level. Remedies. A fine of $6.2 million. Mandatory third-party monitor for 4 years. Full public disclosure of all settlements involving discrimination complaints since 2018. Individual sanctions. Diane Holloway, terminated, barred from banking services for life. Robert Calloway, formal reprimand, mandatory retraining, demotion from regional authority. Heritage First CEO, personal financial penalty and compliance oversight requirement. The room erupts. Commissioner Marshall silences it with one hand. These are preliminary findings. The final order will be issued in 3 weeks and will include provisions for a victim compensation fund and transparent demographic reporting requirements going forward. She pauses. This commission takes seriously its obligation to ensure that every person who walks into a financial institution in this state is treated as a customer from the moment they arrive. Not from the moment they are recognized. The settlement Marcus receives is not the largest number Heritage First offered. It is the one that came with conditions, public acknowledgement. Victim fund. Reporting requirements. No NDA. He donates a portion to the Illinois Civil Rights Legal Fund. He establishes a scholarship at Malcolm X College on the west side of Chicago. He names it after his father. The Gerald Webb Scholarship for students who refuse to be made invisible. 44 people receive compensation from the Victim Fund over the following 14 months. Most of them, Marcus never meets. But he reads every name. 4 months later, Marcus Webb walks into Midwest Community Bank on Michigan Avenue. Routine. A deposit from Meridian's first post-acquisition contract. The company kept its name, its employees, its mission. The acquisition was capital, not surrender. The teller is 20-something. Professional. She looks up as he approaches. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" "Sir." Before she knows his name. Before she sees the amount. Before anyone has to recognize anything. As a default. As the way it was always supposed to be. Marcus makes his deposit. No extra questions. No held check. No one called. Just a transaction between a customer and a bank, professional, respectful, complete. He drives home. Imani is at school. The apartment is quiet. He sits at the kitchen counter with his coffee and his father's briefcase and the particular piece of a man who fought a thing that needed fighting and is still standing on the other side of it. His phone buzzes. A message from Nadia, 44th claimant settled today. All 44. He reads it twice. He thinks about the question Imani asked him the night the article published, when she couldn't sleep and came to find him at his desk. Daddy. Was it worth it? Being loud about it. And Marcus Webb, who built a company from nothing, who carried his father's briefcase, who stood at a marble counter while paper rained down on his shoes and did not bend to pick it up, Marcus Webb looked at his daughter and told her the truth. It wasn't just about me, baby. It was about the next person. The one who walks in tomorrow and doesn't have the audio. Doesn't have the witnesses. Doesn't have the attorney on speed dial. It was for them. He pauses. Dignity doesn't need proof. Respect doesn't need recognition. The word, sir, should come at minute 1. Not minute 47. And now, at one bank, in one city, for 44 people who were owed it, it does. If this story moved you, if you believe respect should be default, not earned, share it. Not for the views. For the person who needs to see it. For the one who was told their check was fraudulent when what she meant was something else entirely. For the one still standing at the counter. Hit like if you believe dignity should never have to prove itself. Subscribe, because these stories matter, and they're not finished being told. And in the comments, has this happened to you? Or someone you know? Let's make minute 1 the standard.